the PDIP will only join if they get assurances that they get a piece of the political and economic pie once they join the coalition. All of the political parties that have joined the coalition are there because of really basically transactional deals. What has hindered the PDIP from joining the coalition is that the incumbent President Jokowi, uh, supposedly a member of the party, supported Prabowo, and his son is now going to be inaugurated as vice president. So I think that Megawati's PDIP would only join if they get a piece of the political and economic pie, and if there are assurances that the Jokowi alliance get marginalized by the Prabowo coalition.
That's quite, then, it sort of confuses the situation, because then you've got Jokowi's son as the vice president.
Yeah.
How's that going to work?
Yes. Well, this is how I expect it to pan out, okay? I expect that Prabowo will make a show of having a unity cabinet where all of the, or most of the political parties and the major organizations are represented in his government, including maybe a dozen or so people who have had ministerial posts in the Jokowi cabinets. That is to show continuity, right? And also to allay fears of any disruption in policy. However, I do think that it is also in Prabowo's interest to gradually detach his government from Jokowi, because he will want to use his power over the institutions of the state to develop his own patronage networks. So I think that there will be a cabinet, but in the next few months or so, there will be reshuffles of cabinet, and then the people that Prabowo thinks are loyal to him, he'll keep. The people that he thinks will be, sort of there to enable Jokowi to keep an eye on him through his son, will be ostracized.
And what then happens if you say in the short term things go as planned for the opposition? What sort of opposition is there going to be in Parliament?
Well, if the PDIP don't go in, and there is a very good chance that it won't, because of the Jokowi factor, right? Then they will be in opposition. They would be by seats the largest party, but they would be overwhelmed by the alliance arrayed behind Prabowo. So I think that there'll be a voice that from the time to time will be a nuisance to the Prabowo government, but will not have much real power and ability to disrupt whatever he wants to get done.
Now, speaking of power, what do you expect Prabowo to do first up after he's inaugurated to really stamp his mark on the presidency? Which policies will he execute first? We saw, one of the things that Joko Widodo had done was to make sure that he was tough on drugs, and we saw the implications of that with the executions of 2 Australians.
Oh, I think that he'll start off with a couple of populist policies, and then he'll do what he really wants to do. So the populist policies will consist of the free lunch program, which was very highly publicized during his election campaign, the free milk program for school children, and there'll be others that have to do with a higher remuneration for civil servants and members of the military and police forces. And these are things that'll, sort of let him, have a brand as a populist or somebody who cares about the people. But what he's really going to be interested in is in a few things. One, he's going to shore up the military. So I think there's going to be, there will be an attempt to sort of strengthen the Indonesian defense forces. And also, I think having had Jokowi pave the way for this, actually, the military, I think, will be more incorporated into uh, uh, civil life, much more so than they have been for the last 25 years.
Yeah, so
And
what does
Jokowi
that
had already
so what
opened
does
the
that
door
tell
for
us
that.
about the state of democracy in Indonesia, as you suggest? Then you're going back to the military having more power in the country.
Well, I think democracy is in trouble in Indonesia, and anybody who says otherwise isn't looking properly.
And has that been made worse by the fact that what President Joko Widodo had done to get his son
Absolutely.
to become vice president by virtue of politicking, but also judicially as well, having his brother-in-law as the top judge who ultimately voted in favor of that?
So, I mean, the irony is this, right? In 2014 and 2019, many people voted for Jokowi to keep Prabowo out because Jokowi was seen as a reformer. He was seen as an outsider. I mean, all of this actually was wishful thinking because he also had his links with elites, oligarchic elites, and so on. It just wasn't as blatant as Prabowo. So they voted for him to keep Prabowo out. But in 2024, Jokowi decides that Megawati's PDIP isn't giving him room to develop his own political dynasty. And so he's pivoted towards his former arch enemy, Prabowo, and shifted his entire electoral machinery, right, to support his former enemy. So ironically, the person that, many Indonesians voted for to keep Indonesian democracy safe has actually paved the way for the dangers that are now facing Indonesian democracy under Prabowo.
And of course, Prabowo's inauguration would mark the end of the Jokowi era. What do you think his legacy will be to the Indonesian people?
Well, I mean, Jokowi maintains very high popularity ratings. And some of it is the result of, I think, his first term, where he did pay attention to welfare and health, and also, his infrastructure policies, which did help small towns and villages. But he's also been helped by this army of influencers and buzzers that have maintained this aura of of purity and good, so that actually a large percentage of Indonesians continue to be influenced by the sort of image created by that cyber army that has created this brand, which remains very powerful in Indonesia.
And finally, Professor Hadiz, Australia and Indonesia will be marking 75 years of relations. What would a Prabowo presidency mean for relations between the two countries?
Oh, I think that any Indonesian president will want to have good relations with Australia. And I think that there's a lot of room in terms of improving ties in the area of the economy, in education, and in many areas. But the difference here, I think, is that if there were to be any kind of sort of crisis between the two countries, where, for example, Australia does something like they did, many years ago, where there was this scandal whereby, there was a phone hacking of the Indonesian president SBY. If something like that were to happen now under Prabowo, I think the sort of response will be much more robust. And he'd be a bit more difficult to handle because he is, I think, somebody who will not rein back, showing his displeasure.
Okay, Professor Vedi Hadiz, really good to get your thoughts on this. Thanks very much. Terima kasih.
Okay, you're welcome.